The Roman Empire, from Foundation to Legacy. Part 1, The Beginning of Rome. More than 700 years ago, there was a small village on the banks of the river Tiber. This place would become one of the most famous cities in history, Rome. According to legend, two brothers, Romulus and Remus, were raised by a she-wolf. When they grew up, they wanted to build a city, but they had a fight. Romulus won and became the first king of Rome. The year was 753 BCE. At first, Rome was ruled by kings. But after about 200 years, the people no longer wanted a king. They wanted a different system. So they created the Roman Republic. In the Republic, leaders were chosen by citizens. They had a senate. They had laws. Many parts of this system were new and important. It was not perfect, but it was different from rule by one person. Rome started to grow. First, they controlled more land in Italy. Then, they began to look outside of Italy. They wanted power, trade, and safety. The Roman army was strong. Roman soldiers trained hard. They built roads. They made forts. And they followed orders. Rome fought many wars. One of the most famous wars was against Carthage, a city in North Africa. These wars were called the Punic Wars. Rome won. After that, Rome became very powerful in the Mediterranean. But power brought problems. Rich people became richer. Poor people became poorer. There were many fights in the city. Some leaders tried to help. Others wanted more power for themselves. One of the most famous Roman leaders was Julius Caesar. He was a great general. He won many battles. He became very popular, but he also wanted more control. In 49 BCE, Caesar took power and became dictator. Some people feared he would become a king. So in 44 BCE, a group of senators killed him. Rome fell into chaos. But out of this chaos, a new leader would rise. Part 2, Augustus and the Birth of the Empire. After Caesar's death, his adopted son Octavian fought for control. He was young but smart. He defeated all his rivals, including the famous Mark Antony and Cleopatra of Egypt. In 27 BCE, the Senate gave him a new name, Augustus. This meant the Great One. He became the first emperor of Rome. Augustus did not call himself a king. He said he was just the first citizen. But in truth, he had more power than anyone else. The Republic was over. The empire had begun. Under Augustus, Rome became peaceful. This period is called the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. It lasted for about 200 years. Trade grew. Roads were built. Cities became stronger. Art and literature flourished. Augustus made many reforms. He fixed the tax system. He created a strong army. He made a postal service. He even started a fire department. People were happy. The empire gave them food, water, and entertainment. They watched fights in the Colosseum. They saw plays in theaters. They lived in big cities with baths and markets. The Roman Empire grew very large. It reached from Britain in the west to the Middle East in the east. It included North Africa and all of Europe south of Germany. But it was not always easy. Emperors came and went. Some were good. Some were bad. Some were very strange. Still, the empire stayed strong for now. Part 3, Life in the Roman Empire. What was life like for people in the Roman Empire? That depends. Life was very different for the rich and the poor. Rich Romans lived in large houses. They had gardens, art, and many rooms. Some even had private baths. They wore fine clothes and ate many kinds of food: bread, olives, cheese, fish, and fruit. Poor Romans lived in small apartments. These buildings were tall but not always safe. Fires were common. Many people lived in one room. They ate simple meals like porridge or bread with oil. But even poor people enjoyed some parts of Roman life. The government gave out free grain. There were public baths where anyone could wash. And there was free entertainment. Romans loved fun. The Colosseum was the biggest place for shows. It could hold 50,000 people. They watched gladiators fight. Sometimes they watched wild animals from Africa. The shows were loud and exciting. Another popular place was the Circus Maximus. It was a big racetrack for chariots. People cheered for their favorite teams, red, blue, green, or white. The races were fast and dangerous. In cities, there were markets, temples, and theaters. Romans bought food, prayed to their gods, and watched plays. Religion was important. The Romans believed in many gods. Jupiter was the king of the gods. Mars was the god of war. Venus was the goddess of love. Later, a new religion appeared, Christianity. At first, the Romans did not like it. They arrested Christians and even killed them. But over time, Christianity grew. In the year 313, the Emperor Constantine said it was legal. Later, it became the main religion of the empire. The Roman world was busy, noisy, and full of life. But behind the fun, changes were coming. Part 4. The Fall of the Western Empire. For many years, the Roman Empire was strong, but it was also very big. Too big. It became hard to control such a large area. There were too many problems. Too many enemies, too many costs. The army was tired, people had less money. Some emperors were weak or cruel. The government made bad choices. In 285 CE, Emperor Diocletian tried to fix things. He divided the empire into two parts, east and west. Each part had its own leader. This helped for a while, but the problems continued. In the 400s, many groups began to attack the empire. These groups were called barbarians by the Romans. One of them, the Visigoths, even attacked Rome in 410 CE. That had never happened before. In 476 CE, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire lost his power. His name was Romulus Augustus, a name from the past, but without the strength. The Western Empire was gone. But the eastern part, now called the Byzantine Empire, stayed strong for many more years. The fall of the Western Empire did not mean the end of Roman ideas. Many things stayed, many things survived. Part 5, the Roman Legacy in Language and Law. Even though the empire ended, the Roman world still lives with us today. Let's start with language. The Romans spoke Latin. This language is not used in daily life now, but it gave birth to many others. French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian all came from Latin. These are called Romance languages. Even English has many Latin words. Animal, minute, family, color, all from Latin. Next is law. The Romans loved rules. They wrote many laws. They created courts, judges, and legal rights. Some of their ideas still shape our legal systems. People are innocent until proven guilty. Everyone is equal under the law. Written laws are better than secret ones. These ideas are used in many modern countries. The Romans also gave us other things. Calendars. July and August are named after Julius, Caesar, and Augustus. Roads, some are still used today. Bridges and buildings, concrete, plumbing and water systems. Even the way cities are built with a center, markets, baths, and streets comes from Rome. Rome fell, but its spirit lives on. Part 6, Roman Architecture and Engineering. One of the most amazing things the Romans gave the world is their architecture and engineering. They built big, strong buildings that lasted for centuries. Some of these buildings still stand today. The Romans loved order and balance. Their buildings had columns, arches, and domes. They built temples, markets, homes, and baths. Many of these buildings were very beautiful. One famous example is the Pantheon in Rome. It has a large dome with a hole at the top called the oculus. Light comes in through the hole. It is a peaceful and powerful place. Another famous building is the Colosseum. It was used for games and shows. It had many seats, levels, and even underground rooms. It could hold more people than some modern stadiums. Roman engineers were also great at building roads. They made straight roads that connected all parts of the empire. These roads helped soldiers travel fast. They also helped trade and news move quickly. Many Roman roads are still in use today. In fact, the saying, "all roads lead to Rome," comes from this system. They also built aqueducts, long channels to bring water from far away. Cities needed water for drinking, cooking, and baths. The aqueducts were made with arches and sloped just enough to carry water using gravity. Some aqueducts still work after 2,000 years. The Romans also invented concrete. This material helped them build strong walls and tall buildings. Modern engineers still use Roman ideas. If you walk in a big city today, you will see arches, domes, roads, and more, all with roots in Roman times. Part 7, Roman Government and Democracy. The Roman Empire had many rulers, emperors, governors, and generals. But before that, during the Republic, Rome had a system that inspired many governments today. Let's look at how the Roman Republic worked. The most important part was the Senate. It was made of wise men, usually from rich families, who gave advice and helped make laws. There were also 2 consuls who led the army and government. They changed every year, so no one had too much power for too long. Roman citizens could vote for leaders. Not everyone could vote, only free men, but it was a big idea for the time. The Romans believed in checks and balances. That means different parts of the government could stop others from getting too strong. This idea is used in many modern democracies. For example, the United States has a president like a consul, a Senate and House like Roman assemblies, courts to check the law. Roman ideas helped people understand that power should be shared, not held by one person forever. They also had written laws like the 12 Tables. These laws were posted in public places so everyone could see them. People began to think more about rights, duties, and justice. Even today, when we talk about republics or senators, we are using Roman ideas. Part 8, Rome's influence on art and education. The Romans loved learning and beauty. They took many ideas from the Greeks and added their own style. In art, Romans made statues, paintings, and mosaics. Mosaics are pictures made from small pieces of stone or glass. They used them to decorate floors and walls. Roman statues were very realistic. You could see every wrinkle, scar, or smile. They showed people as they really looked. They also made frescoes, big wall paintings, often showing nature, gods, or everyday life. In literature, the Romans wrote poems, speeches, and stories. One famous poet was Virgil, who wrote the Aeneid, the story of a hero who helped start Rome. They also wrote history. Tacitus and Livy wrote about the past. Their books help us understand Roman life. Education was important. Rich families sent boys to school. They learned reading, writing, math, and public speaking. Some girls also learned at home. They read books and wrote letters. The Romans used scrolls and wax tablets to write. Later, they helped develop the idea of the codex, the early version of a book. Their alphabet is still used today, so are their numbers, in some places like clocks and movie credits. Roman culture spread across Europe. Even after the empire ended, Roman art and books were saved and studied. Much later, in the 1400s, these old Roman works helped inspire a time called the Renaissance, a rebirth of art and learning. So when we look at books, schools, and art today, we still see the hand of Rome. Part 9, Roman Religion and Philosophy. In the early days of Rome, people believed in many gods. These gods were part of everyday life. Romans prayed to them for health, luck, safety, and success in war. They had temples in every city. People gave offerings like food, coins, and flowers. The most important gods were Jupiter, king of the gods, god of the sky; Juno, his wife, protector of women; Mars, god of war; Venus, goddess of love; Neptune, god of the sea; Mercury, god of travel and messages. Many Roman gods came from Greek gods, but with different names. For example, the Greek god Zeus became Jupiter. Romans also believed in household gods called lares. These gods protected the home and family. Each family had a small altar for daily prayers. As the empire grew, Romans accepted other religions too. People from Egypt, Persia, and other places brought their gods. The Romans were open as long as people respected the emperor. Then came Christianity. At first, Christians were in danger. The empire wanted everyone to honor the Roman gods and the emperor. Christians refused. They believed in one God and followed the teachings of Jesus. Over time, Christianity grew. People liked its message of love, hope, and forgiveness. In 313 CE, Emperor Constantine made it legal to be Christian. Later, Emperor Theodosius made it the official religion of the empire. This was a big change. Temples closed. Churches opened. Bishops became important leaders. The Roman world changed. But religion stayed at the center of life. Rome also gave us philosophy ideas about how to live. Many Romans studied Stoicism, a way of thinking that said, accept what happens. Stay calm, do your duty, help others. Famous Roman thinkers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius wrote books that people still read today. Even now, when people say stay strong or be wise, they are sharing ideas from long ago. Part 10, The End That Never Ends. The Western Roman Empire ended in 476 CE, but Rome never really died. The Eastern Roman Empire, also called the Byzantine Empire, continued for almost 1,000 more years. Its capital was Constantinople, now Istanbul. It kept Roman laws, roads, and ideas alive. Even after that, the memory of Rome stayed strong. In the Middle Ages, kings and rulers called themselves Caesar, like the Russian Tsar and the German Kaiser. The Catholic Church used Latin for prayers and learning. Roman buildings became models for new churches, castles, and cities. During the Renaissance, people looked back at Roman art, books, and science. They copied it. They studied it. They loved it. In modern times, Rome still lives in our laws and courts, our roads and bridges, our languages and books, our cities and politics, our calendar and alphabet. Even movies and games tell stories of Roman heroes, soldiers, and emperors. Rome was not perfect. It had war, slavery, and unfair rules. But it also gave the world ideas that still help us today. It was strong. It was smart. It was full of energy and ideas. So when you see a stone road, a statue, a courthouse, or a book of laws, think of Rome. The empire may be gone, but the story continues.